I was reviewing some recent, a casual survey on residents in Thailand, and more of them use Facebook than access the internet. That's their perception of what these resources are. And so I'm thinking, considering what many companies, many U.S. companies are pursuing with this whole emerging market in third world nations, is there a response to this of people whose perception of what these resources are solely through a corporation and not of what this, what we perceive as to be the World Wide Web or other internet resources?
Shall I have a go? I think it depends on the country and how much bandwidth there is, what kind of computing devices people have. If they have something that's very low powered, you can have a very different situation from someone who's got several computing devices, like probably everyone in this room. Not quite an answer to your question, but linking your question and the discussion we've just been having, when I'm talking about this subject elsewhere in the world, I normally talk first about the open internet, but second about the open global internet, because it may or may not be particularly aware of the fact that there's a number of places around the world where people would like to fragment the way the internet works. And that could be because of industrial reasons. It can be often because of government control. Particularly some of the more autocratic regimes around the world would like to see compulsory local storage of data, for example, because they want to be able to inspect that data and find out what you're up to. So a second part of this fight is not only having an open internet where we live in the United States or in Europe, but also having a global internet, because that's how we ensure that people have maximum access to information, not just in terms of which websites they're going to, but in terms of having opportunities beyond their national borders.
So I can answer the question directly. Also, if any of you want to get involved, just email me, marvinamori@gmail.com. Find me at Twitter, @Amori. We'll figure out a way to plug you in. So what's happening around the world is there are some countries, usually generally very poor countries with very low connectivity, and people don't realize why they should use the internet. And some companies like Wikipedia and Facebook have these partnerships in these countries where they say, because bandwidth is so expensive, what we're going to do is cut deals with phone companies so that Facebook and Wikipedia, et cetera, don't count against any bandwidth cap. So if you're a poor person in one of these countries, you think the internet is Facebook because that's what's free for you when you pay the monthly fee. And there are lots of different ways to think about this exemption to the bandwidth cap, and there are probably three categories. Right? One category is where there's an exemption and no fee paid by Wikipedia or Facebook to the phone companies. Right?
Sort of also like T-Mobile's Music Freedom.
In the US, we have T-Mobile's Music Freedom. Now, if there was a payment from Wikipedia to these carriers, that would cause all of the fast lane, slow lane problems. You'd keep the bandwidth cap really low, and then you just start extracting money from big companies to jump over, right? Really big problem. So I think that should actually have been banned by the FCC. I think that's an easier case. And I think where the carriers try to do that, especially in the US where we have a more robust market, we're not a third world country, right? I think that should have been banned. But then there are other situations where they do it without a fee. And if you look at the Wikipedia model, it's only in really poor countries. There's no fee. It's non-exclusive in both directions. And you can debate what's better and what's worse, but what the carriers really want are exclusive deals where they auction off exclusivity. And in countries that have this kind of exemption from data caps, you have far lower data caps, much lower. And when they ban it, the data caps get doubled, like in the Netherlands. And I believe 7 countries that have net neutrality have banned these kind of zero rating deals under certain situations. And so I think it's a problem, but I do see why it could be different how Wikipedia does it in certain third world countries. But that's sort of that's what you're asking. It's a very good question.